Our motoring tip of the week this week concerns multifunction switches. Now, this is a well-named switch that resides in your steering column, and because it performs multiple functions, it's called the multifunction switch. And years ago, back in the 70s and 80s, we referred to the predecessor to this switch as the turn signal switch, because that's pretty much all it did. But now the switch does turn signals, it does dimmer switch for high and low beam headlights, it does wipers, low and high speed, and the delay function. It does washer fluid spritzing when you press it in like this. And this switch is a very simple little switch located on the side of the steering column. Now, it used to be up in the top of the column, and we used to have to take the steering wheel and the airbag module out to get to it. But now the multifunction switch in most cars is grafted onto the side of the steering column, so it's actually easier to change than it was many years ago. And when the guys got here today, they were pretty excited that we were going to take the steering column apart and they'd see the guts of the steering column. And the shrouds come off the column rather easily, just 3 little screws in the base of the shroud. The 2 shroud pieces come off, and that exposes most of the switch gear that you need to get to in the column. So the wheel doesn't even have to come off. You don't touch the airbag or anything. It's actually quite simple. Now, that multifunction switch in this particular vehicle, $113, very quick to change. Here's a real good tip for you though, since this is the tip of the week. There's no maintenance or anything that you can do to prolong the life of this switch. It is what it is kind of thing. But when it goes bad, and eventually it will go bad, on this particular vehicle, we lost the turn signal function, and then it progressed into losing wiper function. However, when you lose those functions, if you flick the dimmer switch, in other words, jiggle or joggle the switch around, make it do something else, those other functions come back and work temporarily enough that you can limp the car in and get it fixed. And of course, if you're in a heavy rainstorm, and that happens to be the time that the wiper function messed up, and that happened on this vehicle to me several times, it's an issue. So don't just give up. Play around with the dimmer switch or hit the signal left and right briskly, dimmer switch again. It'll come back to you enough that you can limp the car in and get it fixed. So keep that in mind if you ever run into this situation. And as I said, it's a fairly inexpensive part, and because it's easy to change now, the labor's pretty low. That's your motoring tip of the week.